Hi multiversal variants, so get this. Moon Goal.
Boo. Get new material!
Finally, after a hiatus of over a year, we finally, officially, have new Moon Goal episodes to talk about. Now, why did it take this long? Don't know. I was half expecting them to rebrand these ones as Season 3, considering how long this hiatus ended up being. And all things considered, not to get into too much detail before I actually start the review, it wouldn't be a bad point to start a new season. It comes after a huge continuity change, there's new gadgets, running gags, and character arcs at its core, but hey, leaving it as Season 2B leaves them open for a great, unique Season 3. Totally. Anyways, I have at most 15 minutes before I start crying, so to make this simple, this isn't the last Moon Goal video, partly because I already wrote the crossovers one, and also because I promised an overview of Season 2 as a whole, and screw it, I'm making that no matter the circumstances. So for now, take this as my first impressions on each of the new episodes released, as I'm pretty sure my opinions will likely change. I tried watching the Season 2A video to prepare for this, and I started cringing immediately, so don't be too surprised to see me disregard any of my takes here in a moment's notice. And finally, spoiler warning for half of these. The show is too serialized now to easily skim over most of the major plot details, so I'm not even gonna bother. Anyways, without further ado, I've been waiting a year to say this, so here we go! Episode good, I'm counting the gatekeeper, 16, Moon Goal Grounded. To start with the important stuff, it doesn't begin with the intro. That's always a sign of an important episode, and in its place, there's this over-dramatic view of Lunella's life without Moon Goal that is, all things considered, pretty funny. Which is good, because the rest of this is a lot. Not all of it, of course, because there's plenty of fun gags throughout, the return of 4 villains, including Rat King. Finally, I love when foreshadowing pays off, and the Beyonder appears for 2 seconds, first time in 10 episodes, whoop whoop, but at the center of it all is a story about Lunella and Audrey that might just be a bit more dramatic than I expected. To start, I love how Lunella's angle in this one shows growth from the first half of the season. While a lot of those episodes focused on her lack of confidence, especially regarding her skills as Moon Goal, she's firm on her stance in this one. At this point, she is Moon Goal, and she knows if she were able to go out and fight these villains even for a minute, she'd be able to stop them all. And the fact that she can see how her absence is hurting people, but she can't step in not only physically, but because of how it will emotionally affect her mom is some powerful stuff. It's some classic superhero stuff, and it has a nice tie directly into the season finale this time around. And then there was Audrey. I understood her worries about her daughter getting hurt, and I appreciated her attempts to bond with her despite the circumstances, but when Lunella literally invented a way to fight crime without putting herself in any danger, and she was still mad, I started to get a bit confused about her motivations, until I really listened to some of the dialogue here and understood that, y'all chill, right? Because people online are mean, and I don't want to get into any unnecessary drama over overanalyzing a kid's show. Okay? Alright, well then screw it. This is a coming out allegory, right? Like, yes, I know, it sounds crazy on paper, but really listen to the story here. And I mean really listen to it. Lunella knowing this is a part of her that she can't hide, Pops telling her that she needs to do what's right even if it makes others uncomfortable, the whole song attached to the mixtape moment, like, just look at these lyrics! Can't fight this feeling that I can't be someone else. This is how I feel. I got to be myself. I am who I am, and I got to be me. Now it's time for the whole world to see. I would have just played the song itself, but I'm sure Disney's copyright would have got me for that one. Like, I'm sorry, they didn't just write that about being a superhero. Ain't no way. Plus, it would make Audrey's attitude in this episode and the upcoming ones make so much more sense. But man, thinking about it that way also means this one really hurts, especially the third act. Lunella's panic over Devil and Casey getting hurt, Pops and Mimi making up because, oh yeah, they had drama this whole episode as well, Lou confronting her mom, the satisfying fight just to be followed by that final scene. Moon Goal is out in the open, there's no avoiding it anymore. Lunella is so proud of herself, and Audrey ultimately chooses to shut it out of her mind and completely ignore it. Yeah, that hurts, but it is so impactful. Especially that shot. This one is just so great. I was worried about how the year-long hiatus would affect my thoughts on this one, and if they'd wrap up the cliffhanger too nicely or too quickly, but they chose not to, and maybe made one of those strongest episodes ever. A painful one for sure, but strong. I'm 5 minutes into recording and I only got through one episode. Oh no! Episode 17, Ride Along. Oh, thank God this one is mostly goofy. The last 4 episodes of the show I reviewed have been Family Matters, The Molecular Level, The Gatekeeper, and then that last one. The emotional side of things was getting a bit overwhelming. Finally, James Jr. gets another Spotlight episode. It only took nearly 2 years. Actually crazy how pretty much none of the adults got episodes to themselves in the first half of the season, besides the 2 Pops ones. I guess you could argue that Suit Up is sort of a Mimi episode, but I disagree. And it's funny because the plot of this one sort of acknowledges how neglected he has been as a character. Every other lead got a chance to take down a villain besides him, so this episode does everything in his power to give him a chance to do so. And I actually forgot how much I love him as a character and his bond with Lunoa until this one. He's over the top and goofy, but in the most respectable way possible. It creates a lot of fun, especially in his parodies of spy and action movies, the return of the puppet gag from Dancing With Myself, which thankfully became recurring over the rest of the season, and a mixtape moment to a cover of a 60s hit where his singing voice is replaced by Raphael Sadiq, which has some interesting lore implications. So James Jr. saying, like, half the soundtrack? Like, what? Also, how did Diamond White and him never sing a song together before now? Their voices match so well. How did this not happen? Anyways, this isn't to say the episode doesn't have an emotional center, as Lunoa's entire motivation in trying to make her dad into a superhero is her fearing that he's gonna drift away from her and join her mom's side. I am not joking, it is literally a nightmare she has. And the fact in the climax James has to ensure Lou that her mom still loves her despite the fact she doesn't even look at her. Don't make me put you down there, girl. Anyways, it's good, I like it, yippee! Episode 18, Lava Actually. Okay, so maybe Pops is the show's favorite character. 3 spotlights in 1 season is crazy. Anyways, this is another sweet one. The idea of a genius serum is a very classic cartoon premise and also a very classic Moon Girl idea at this point, but I like how Lunoa recognizes where this whole thing is going before it even starts because she's typically the one to try crazy stuff like this. No, this one's all about Pops, and similar to how his last outing focused on bringing out his petty side, this one has a hint of jealousy and even insecurity, which is fun to see, especially since, all things considered, he is typically the most put together member of this family. I also like how, unlike Lunoa or Mimi, who are small but written to be genuine people, his genius side comes out in more of the, actually, stereotype, constantly spitting facts for no real reason. This version of this man would annoy the hell out of me in real life, but his over-the-top attempts to impress here are charming. And, oh yeah, the hot tomatoes are back. That's nice, I like them. And so is Dr. Stone, who gets his life torn apart again by Lafayette, and if this show went on for another season, I could totally see this becoming a running gag, even if it makes no sense why you get fired for this one. At the center of all of this, though, is a story about Mimi and Pops' relationship, and for how sweet it truly is, this one is very—
I don't feel anything.
But at this point, Audrey, go get it together. You can't even see the lab without freaking out. You need a tulp. Glad she's okay with Devil at least, because he's innocent. But they better fix this soon. It's making every episode a bit sadder. Episode 19, Full Moon. In 2018, I watched the Steven Universe episode A Single Pair of Roses when it premiered. I was huge on the show, so I was gonna watch it anyways, but I was confused why Cartoon Network decided to market it as a new special when the description only mentioned Steven having to find Paul's phone. Come on guys, that can't be that serious. And from then on, I've had trust issues. That is to say, come on, vague title, vague description. When I first watched it, Disney Plus didn't even have an image showing what it looked like. This was a big one. I could feel it, and I was terrified to even click play knowing what I could possibly see on the other side of this.
I think it's my first period.
Oh, okay, well, to be fair, there was no way I could have possibly seen that oh, you gotta be kidding me. So for reasons I don't think I need to explain, I may not be the best candidate to talk about this one. But at the same time, I haven't been an expert on half the experiences this show talks about, so that's the coward's excuse. So here we go, top 3 reasons this episode works. Number 1, it's important. I know we like to believe the world is perfect, and every kid who needs to know this is coming will know beforehand, but that's just not true. Someone will learn periods are a thing in general from this episode, and it's better to be informed than ignorant. Number 2, it's goofy. It's not written as a preachy PSA, and it approaches the topic in a lighthearted way. Why did that line just rhyme? I didn't intend that, I swear, what? Even outside of the period stuff, the second act here was killing me constantly with the amount of effort Lunella was putting in to hide Moon Girl's entire existence from her mom's view. And last, but certainly not least, number 3, it just makes sense. Not because there was technically foreshadowing of this moment back in Wichita, even if mentioning that like it was intentional foreshadowing is funny, but because it ultimately serves as a way to bring Lunella and Audrey back together with a normal moment of most girls' lives. It just makes sense she'd be able to put aside her disapproval of Lou's superhero antics to help us through this moment in life. It's the role she's used to as a mom. And listen, I may be a crier, I've cried at things I'm embarrassed to admit to, but this show only truly got me 3 times that I remember. Brooklyn's breakdown in The Gatekeeper, an episode we'll get to, and the climax here. Audrey finally being able to see how her attitude towards Moon Girl is tearing her daughter apart is an emotional enough concept at this point, but using the cassette player, the centerpiece behind nearly every big fight in the series, the first thing you see in the intro, and a gift from Audrey directly to Lunella in the first episode getting destroyed, being the thing to fully show Audrey how she's holding her daughter despite how much she truly loves her, and then for her to own up to her mistake and apologize, and Lunella's first response is to sob. Please give these writers every award possible. Emmys, Annies, Peabodys, is a Nobel Peace Prize possible because they earned it. A very important episode for a number of reasons, and it made people mad on Twitter, so that has to be worth something. Episode 20, To Intervention and Beyonder. You know a show is good when you have no real issues with an episode and you still think, that might have been a weaker one. To start positively, Devil Girl. Finally! They've been teasing this girl so many times without ever fully committing to giving her a spotlight, but they finally did it, and she's great. The way they take a lot of Lunella's established qualities like her impatience, her smarts, etc. and twist them around into a more pessimistic and snarky form is perfect. She's not a complete opposite, just a variant. And to fit that name of Devil Girl, she spends most of this episode just kind of annoyed. And in a fight, her movement is more aggressive, and if you pause any of these shots, calm down, I'm scared. And as for Moon Dino, he's just Devil too, but the relationship the two form is so cute, so he's peak too. Now back to Devil Girl, the punk energy she brings to the whole episode, and especially the mixtape moment, is so appreciated. I wish we got more of her, but to finally give her somewhat of a spotlight is so appreciated. Also, the soundtrack version of her song features Canada, which means sorry Disney, I'm gonna have to raise that rating a little bit. Anyways, what was this episode about again? Oh yeah, the Beyonder is back. Finally, you don't realize how much you miss him until you go most of the season with only one cameo and an appearance in a Moon Girl's lab show. He's back to his pathetic nature seen in The Great Beyonder, still mad at Lunella over the events of Wichita, but still obsessed with mentioning her constantly. And I just realized if you forget episode names, that sentence probably made no sense to you. And honestly, I was kind of surprised to see Lunella herself is mad at him in this one, after seeming sympathetic for him in previous episodes. But then I remembered, oh yeah, her family was about to die, she begged for his help and he didn't come despite being the one to cause the problem. And then I realized, oh, this show somehow developed a complicated multi-sided relationship between these two without me even noticing. It all comes out during the second act here, which in itself features some fun fourth wall breaks, but also highlights every Beyonder appearance so far in the series from both Lunella and his perspective. And you can easily understand both viewpoints, with B learning emotions from his experiences with Lunella, trying to be a better person and getting rejected, and Lou's life constantly being torn apart by his antics multiple times despite his intentions. And the funny thing is, despite being mad, both still care about each other, which makes the final moments feel so sweet and satisfying to see after so long. Say all you want about redemption arcs, but one where the villain isn't really bad as he doesn't understand what he's doing is very compelling. Not sure why this one didn't fully click with me, sometimes episodes are just like that, but still a very important episode for the show and a fun watch. Episode 21, Crushed. This was an interesting one to head into because it seemed like its very concept was contrasting the message of Dancing With Myself. However, after watching the episode itself, it feels more like a sequel than anything, and if I remember one detail from my video covering it that keeps me up at night, it's that I spent half that segment talking about all the ships. So let's say screw it to cringe and let's do it again. To start, Lunella and Eduardo. Yeah, this pretty much kills the ship once and for all, but in a very respectable way. I like how Lou does like Eduardo after the last adventure. It shows progression in her character. She just doesn't like him in that way, and her hesitance to let him know that spirals in classic Moon Girl style was the creation of Corey. Very funny idea to bring back Blobby the Mist in not only such a huge role, but as an 80s stereotype. Which, yeah, with the inclusion of an 80s theme party, there's a lot of references here. And they're covered in the exact way that you'd expect, with 2 pretty period accurate tracks and the dialogue you'd think a show about a naughty super genius would do.
Wait, so being a nerd was unpopular in the 80s? Only jocks got dates? What?
Honestly, in general, the dialogue here was very funny. Hell, it is for this entire batch. I don't know if I just haven't noticed it before now, or this is actually the show at its comedic best.
Why does your boyfriend have parental controls?
Really, they all should.
But at its center is a story about rejecting someone from both sides. It's okay to do so with no excuses attached, and on Eduardo's side, it's best to take that rejection with respect and let the crush go. It's one of those important message episodes, which means nobody who need to see it will hear it. Unless if that's you, dear viewer. Now's the chance to let go of that crush. They said no 5 months ago. It will be okay. I promise! Anyways, this one was a lot of fun. A lot of it is cringe humor as that comes with the territory, but that works for me, and I think I like Eduardo more after this one, so I think it was worth it. However, after finishing this one, I just kept thinking about the opening of the last episode. With her family aware for antics, the Beyonder becoming a friend, and Eduardo moving past his crush, basically every loose end in the show so far has been wrapped up. Are we really getting towards the end? Nah, I'm not gonna worry about it too much. I'm sure these writers have some insane ideas to fill these remaining episodes. Episode 22, A Devilish Birthday. Okay, maybe insane wasn't the best word choice. Listen, I never worked in TV, maybe one day, and if I have an idea for one of these, the only person I need to consult with is myself. But I still have to wonder, how the hell do you pitch an idea like this? Okay, so get this. Devil doesn't know his birthday, so both the ABCs, remember them, they're back, and the Lafayettes throw parties for him at the same time, with the Lafayettes one being in their apartment so he's small the whole time. Got it? Good. Because to attend both, he'll need to clone himself, but his clone ultimately ends up eating sugar, making him go insane and start making additional clones of himself, threatening the town.
What? Perfect. Make it right now. Television.
Listen, I love this little dino and his silly antics, but I feel like this is the weakest of his focused outings, if solely for the fact it doesn't have much to say about him as a character besides, he's a silly guy. Also, Lunoa gets weirdly mad at him during this one, which I think is supposed to be a message about honesty, but it just feels a bit out of character for her and their dynamic. But hey, it's still very cute, so it's kinda hard to get mad at this one. Episode 23, Party Girl. Finally, a relatable episode of the show, because I'm broke too! I feel this! Actually, I feel the need to specify that not really, because I needed to get a new laptop before making this one, so all things considered, this video technically cost $800. So please subscribe or whatever, I never beg, but I might actually need it this time. Anyways, yeah, this one finally answers the question, how the hell does Lunoa afford all this tech? And the answer is, she doesn't. Literally all this being thrown out is almost hard to believe, but it also makes perfect sense and is a question I'd have as a kid, and one I'm also surprised I didn't have right now, so I'll allow it because it leads to a pretty fun premise. Not sure exactly how we ended up with 2 party-themed episodes in a row. Wait, no, 3 if you count Crushed. I guess they were in a party mood, but I think all of these have something different to offer. Lots of great gags in this one, but I also felt the sense that the writers were getting a little tired at this point. Like, Lou gets to the parent tells a story so she can learn the lesson point of the episode, and she is not only aware of that, she just zones it out. And then the final scene is her dramatically restating the message to Casey and Audria's unamusement. Like, they were well aware, okay, we've done this kind of episode before, just watch it. It genuinely caught me off guard. Even the title of this one gives me, we don't have a good pun, please leave us alone vibes. But even if they were tired of their own formula, there's a lot of good in here, including with the villain being Mr. Negative. I recognize him! I know a villain from this show for once! He was in the Spider-Man game! I played the Spider-Man game! Never got to the DLC or sequels because I don't personally own a PS5, but I recognized him in his voice! That's Bowen Yang from Gentry Chow vs. the Underworld and some other things, but Gentry! By the way, that's going to be my next video. I know I'm 3 months late, but I was busy when it was premiering, so it's okay. Please act surprised when I upload it. Alongside a sick mixtape moment, I know this is a good one, even if I don't have much to say about it. Episode 24. Guess who's coming to dinner? Damn, good question. I have no clue. Also, do you see what I mean about these titles? Like, this isn't even a joke. This is literally just a movie title. Anyways, this is another Beyonder one. And also his best episode. This episode is fantastic. Pretty much everything Moon Girl does so well is in full swing here. It's funny, it's sweet, it's unique, it's clever. And in terms of the series so far, some parts of this feel like they've been built up for 2 seasons now. That's mainly referring to the fact that this is the first time that the entire main cast is not only in the same episode, but interacting. And to see all the adults finally interact with the Beyonder is so great, partly because they all realize how weird this whole thing is. Because it's not every day you discover your child has made friends with a random all-knowing grown adult who has stalked your family for at least a year. And oh yeah, this is an adult-centric episode. We don't often get them all in the same episode, and also treated equally important. But for once, they're the stars here. They're the ones learning the lesson, and seeing them being nosy as hell is great. The amount of effort they go through to learn Lunella's secret here is comedy gold, even if I, an audience member, pretty much saw it coming, so sorry Lafayette, guess you're stupid. And even if it wasn't the focus here, seeing the development of the Beyonder and Lunella's dynamic is so sweet. They'll just chill, and to see him go out of his way to help her towards the climax is so satisfying. And speaking of the climax, that mixtape moment, oh my god. Not only is the multiverse concept really fun in its own right, but in the song itself, they got Lawrence to sing it, and he's so good. Why hasn't anyone cast him in a musical? I know he has the tough guy personality or whatever, but the goofy side he has in this show is too good to ignore, right? And definitely most importantly, the credits are adorable. This one is just so fun, and a great use of every character. Except maybe Casey, she's just here for fun, but who cares? Absolute Moon Girl banger. That I could probably talk about longer, right? I'm sure that's not all I have to say about this one. I'm sure there's more, because I don't know if I'm ready for this next one. Or to say, episode 25, Shoot for the Moon. I'm kind of struggling to come up with a legitimate view for this. Like all the others, I can imagine some of the lines and jokes I'd make about the episode right after I watched it, but here, I got nothing. Maybe it's a mental thing, like the idea of viewing the finale means the show is officially over, which, trust me, is something I've been gaslighting myself about for months, but I don't know. It just feels so hard to say goodbye right here and right now. So I'm going to take the simple approach and put off going into all the details about this one until I'm ready to make my big season 2 video. Doesn't that mean you likely won't see it for a year? Yeah, but for now, it's helping me get through this part, so whoop-de-doo. For now, I will say it's good. A big one for jumping out of my seat, lots of callbacks, cameos, and music choices got me here. If you watched my big season 1 video, I think you know which song choice got me both hyped and crying. Same goes for some of the guest stars. There was one I couldn't believe they got in here. But Disney publicly revealed it the day before the episode was released, so I already knew, but still exciting. And in the end, I appreciated how mostly open-ended this one is. Too many canceled shows end with a big "there's no going back" moment, but for a show that has been on the edge of being cancelled / not cancelled for so long, I think having a clear path forward after this is only fair. But I was a mess when I finished it. Apparently, you get attached to a show when you make videos on it consistently for 2 years, believe it or not. So I think as an ending, it works. But I still want so much more. Cult classic status, please come on quickly. We can trick them into making a revival. I believe in us. And they never mentioned the garage sale again, which just bugs me. Like, I'd be able to accept it if the joke was everyone has the same backstory when the Beyonder's around, but then the gatekeeper leaked and he became the one to introduce the concept. So now it's just a confusing bit they did for half a season. So never mind. Screw this show. Moon Girl, more like dumb girl. Haha, in your face.